Hey guys, my name is Rylan and I climb at Alpine Gym. Uh, and I'm just starting off with the stretches. Usually I stretch for about 10 to 15 minutes. My total warm-up is about like 30 minutes, so roughly. But usually I stretch my lower legs, my hamstrings first. And then usually I try to stretch out everything from hamstrings to quads to my hip flexors, my hips, internal and external rotation. Yeah, and then after that I've been climbing for about, I would say, 3 to 4 years altogether. Climbed 2 years. And then I took a break around about 2016 or 2015 to 2018. And then I took a break for school for a bit. And then I just came back basically last year. Yeah. And it's been really fun because I could see that I'm actually, from climbing from the past, I know what to do now still. So I was able to reach to my past level pretty fast while I was. I climbed around roughly V6 to V7 indoors, around bouldering. I did a lot of sport climbing compared to now, which I don't do it too often. And then I usually, thanks for coming and stopping by the channel. And I stretch in my hip flexors, and then I move into hamstring. So I like to do like stretches that are just more fluid and to movement, just like this. I just found it easier to find it easy to transition into. Right there you can see I'm not very flexible. I can't really push down fully. Feeling a little bit tight today. I think the last time I went to the gym was last week, so last Wednesday. So it's been a couple days. Then I start to move into my upper body. So I like stretching my wrist a lot. So since we use it the most, flexion, into going into flexion, extension. Just like light mobility stuff, warming it up, making sure it has some blood flow going into it, warming up everything, stretching out. I use this too. It's called ulnar and radial deviation, basically up and down, strengthening the wrist, allowing body weight resistance onto it. And then I like to do push-ups into these stands. Also, this is my warm-up for my wrists, basically, just to make sure. Allowing pressure again. And then I like to go into push-ups. I do about 5 because 10 hurts. And I go back into it, and then I just make sure it's fully warmed up. And I found that it helps the most. Sometimes go into climbing with our fingers not warm, and sometimes it'll start to hurt, or just feel a little bit raw, I would say. And then I go into active stretching. So, with my hip flexors, moving it up, allowing it to rotate out, simulating a lot of stuff that we do in climbing. And then I switch off to the other side. I do about 10 to 12 reps, and then just do one set because usually I don't want to tire myself out. And just because I have like a laundry list of stretches and exercise right before I climb. And some active hamstring workouts. Or stretches, really. Do the same thing, about 10 to 12. and I switch off to the other side. Found that these are really helpful, especially for high leg reaches, you know, especially when it's not really bent and you definitely have to reach out the most. And going out to your side and going just to warm up everything a little bit, just all the big muscles. Yeah, it's pretty helpful for me. And then after I move into some shoulder warm-ups, so I usually do same thing, about 10 for this one. I just do small activations of my shoulder, usually, you know, retraction and depression, and then I just hang for about 10 seconds, and then I move on to my legs. My legs, I usually found that I do a variation of just maybe one squat, so today's gonna be split stance. I like these a lot because it kind of simulates climbing. You know, you're always on, it's never like one even foothold, right? You're always like off balance, off to the side, so I found these really helpful, especially adding resistance, being able to push off those really hard small footholds or stuff like that. Yeah, and then I usually end it off with the band stretches. Usually, so my warm up usually changes I only usually change up one or two things in my warm up, depending how I feel. Usually, you know, if I feel more tight, if I wanted to work on something for just a short amount of time, I would do that. So band stretches, I went back into it a little bit. Found that it was really helpful, especially, you know, internal, external rotation of your shoulder. There's a lot of time in climbing, you're always going in and out with your shoulder. And yeah, so I do 10 12 side. For me, this gets pretty tiring, just moving my arms up and down. Yeah, my face is getting pretty tired. I'm like thinking, when's this rep gonna be over? I hope it's over soon. And then there's the other side. Yeah, found this really great to warm up my shoulders. I don't like to go into climbing cold just because it feels like it feels a little bit more strenuous on my body. So I like to do simple movements just to make sure that, you know, when I start to actually do much more harder movements on the wall, I can just feel a little bit ready for it. Yeah, and then, okay, so I start off with the green V0, and then I try to find 3 different ways to climb it. That's how I usually start off my climbs. So usually it's just a regular way, straightforward way to climb it, and I like to down climb it right after. After that, I like to do high reach for this one, and then just try to go as up. So whether if it's trying to skip holds, all that stuff, just to make sure my body's fully extended for those kind of like almost dynamic movements-ish. And then last way, I like to do like a foot hand match. So try to reach up, match my hand to my foot. Oh, not this one. This one's the high reach. It's okay. I'm gonna cut this out. And then for this one, I just climb it. Same thing, it's a V1, it's an orange V1. I like to climb it up in just a regular way I would climb it. And then just climb back down after. Yeah, same thing, I like to down climb. And then found down climbing super helpful for me, just especially because it helps with outdoor climbing. Sometimes there's not a lot of top outs that you could do, and you just sometimes have to come back down the same way. There's no trail, so I found like practicing down climb it kind of prepares you for what to expect for that. It's not exactly, because outdoor rock climbing is very different. Holds are less, the footholds are less obvious as well. And then I move on to green V2. So depending on how I feel, I usually do like 2 V0s, maybe 1 or 2 V1s, and then 1 V2, 1 V3, and then keep moving up there. Yeah, my hours are I usually spend about like 1.5 to 2 hours at the gym, 30 minutes of climbing or warming up, and then an hour and a half of climbing. Yeah, and then I climb back down, same thing here. This V4 was really fun. It was a new set. I thought about healing it, then I realized that heal's not good, so I started toe down, and then that's a really good hold. There's a jug, basically, or undercling to a jug, basically. And then I thought about healing here as well, but I realized the hold's not pretty good to let go of my left foot. I would have fell off balance. So I just realized move my foot over and go straight up, and then so I move on to this. Oh, another V4 actually, because all these climbs were pretty new. So here, they were all jug holds. So this was an easier V4. I think the crux was that part right here, where the jumping pinches. Didn't necessarily have to jump, but I just chose to jump to do something more dynamic, and then just finish up with the high pull. A lot of these moves, I think the hard part of it was just everything was just more powerful. I would say just pulling more, so it's not straightforward moves. I mean, it's pretty straightforward moves though. And then the last one I did was a V6. So this one was fun. Those had little crimp pockets-ish, and I couldn't reach up to that hold right there, so I had to use a foothold to help me assist up into the match. And then right here I would get stuck. I would end up using the left hand, but now I decided to try the right hand, and it felt really great for me. And you have to stay low. I made the mistake of going up high, but this was the best option. Staying low, shifting, matching my hands and shifting my hips over all the way until I could push up, and then so I'm able to lock off and then just grab the hold right there and to the match. Alright guys, thanks for watching my climbing video. I appreciate it, and see you next time.